Jayo Jaya Gaura Chande Aradhiko Shobha
Krishna Right, I need some servers to use Maha. Any volunteers? Yes, you sir? Okay.
You know, we're talking about you.
Mama? You want mama? Wait. Let me get my phone. Let me get my phone. Yeah, Jacob. Here. चलो बस सही चलो
Myron Junior, own plate.
Myron. Come on.
Play cards.
He's going to play slowly.
Oh, you want some? But I'm 45 minutes.
Just give us 2 minutes more.
Because it will be telecasted. So start at 45 minutes. Please come in, I'll close this.
I don't want one thing.
She's going to speak on her words. She'll say which one, so you can open that one.
Oh, great.
Which one is that? 8, 10. Chapter 8, verse 10. No. Yes, it should be on the front. I don't know what is this. What does this say?
As it says, 8.2.
Yeah, so 8.10. Go to 8.10. I'll just get to it first.
Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giridharadhari
Gopi Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Jaya Radhanaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Yashodanandana Jaya Radhanaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunjabihari
Jaya Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari
Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Kunjabihari
Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjabihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Kunjabihari
Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari
Hare.
Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe.
Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe.
Sitaram Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman.
Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman.
Goranditai Jaya Goranditai, Goranditai Jaya Goranditai.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Hare Bol. Thank you Prabhu. Okay, so welcome to all of you for this evening's Bhagavad-Gita class. So every evening we have a Bhagavad-Gita class, in the morning we have the Bhagavatam class. I'm not sure if it is the first time for all of you or you have attended before. First time? Second time. Okay, that's nice. First time for you all? Okay. So before we do the class, we have this very wonderful kirtan that Prabhuji was leading so beautifully. We normally do chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra before we start the class, but we'll just change the order a little bit. We will chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in a bit. So what we'll do is today we are reading from chapter 8, verse number 10. The chapter is entitled Attaining the Supreme. Do you all need a copy of the Bhagavad-Gita? Must be here on the window. Anand Kumar, here. Or you can take my copy. Yeah? Okay, so chapter 10 is entitled Attaining the Supreme, and we are reading the verse 10 today. Prayana kale manasachalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva Pruvar madhe pranamaveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Agyan Chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. We'll just recite some prayers before we go into discussing this verse. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay, so since you all said some of you are here for the first time, some of you are here for the second time, so maybe we should have a bit of a background about the Bhagavad-Gita. How many of you know something about the Bhagavad-Gita? Lord, all of you? Do you? Kind of. So just a little bit of background. So the Bhagavad-Gita was spoken by Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this battle was happening between cousin brothers. So there was one group of cousin brothers fighting against the other. And the fight was, as usual, which continues till now, it was about land. So it was Pandavas and Kauravas. But actually, this fight was not just about land. This was a fight for the right, for dharma to be established. It wasn't just about a piece of land. So that is why this battle cannot be counted as what's happening today in the material world. This was over and above that. Krishna orchestrated all this so that he could establish the right moral values, because he saw that the society was degrading, no dharma was being followed, and that is why this was the battlefield. So when the battle was about to start, one of the brothers, who was on the right side, he was righteous. He was one of the Pandava Brothers, one of the 5 Pandava Brothers. So the Pandavas were 5 brothers and the Kauravas were 100 brothers, and they were fighting against each other. So one of the Pandavas, which is, who is Arjuna, is a very dear friend of Krishna. And when he saw on the battlefield that he has to fight against his cousins, his uncles, his gurus, he was very distressed. And he started lamenting and thinking, this is not what I want to do. In fact, he gave up his arms and he said, I don't want to fight this because I don't want to kill my relatives. What is the use of winning a battle where my hands will be tainted with blood of my relatives? So at that time, then a question and answer session ensued between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is the right thing for me to do? Because he was so confused. So then on, this whole, it is a conversation, but most of the time it is Krishna speaking, because Arjuna looks at him as his guru and asks him for his guidance. And so then Krishna is speaking, and the Bhagavad-Gita has 18 chapters and 700 verses, and in each chapter actually Krishna is describing how one should put Krishna in the center of your life and surrender to Krishna. And when you do anything for Krishna, then that is actual dharma. So that explanation is given in the Bhagavad-Gita. Some people may think that this Bhagavad-Gita was spoken more than 500 years back, so it doesn't actually relate to me in today's world. But that is not the case, because even today, all of us are fighting the same kind of battles with our mind and with the external agencies that we are surrounded in. We are constantly fighting this battle. And trust me, you pick up the Bhagavad-Gita and you open any of the pages, any verse from the Bhagavad-Gita, and you will be able to relate to it, and it will answer your questions. So anyways, today's chapter, the 8th chapter, we've come to a stage where now Arjuna is asking Krishna, how does a person who is, realized, who has understood what this life is about, how does that person behave? How does he interact? What does he do? So he's got several questions that he's asked in the beginning of the chapter. And then Krishna is answering all his questions. So in today's verse, Krishna is answering how a yogi at the time of death, how he is able to concentrate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he is leaving. So in the previous verses, there were some places where Krishna is saying that, how whatever you think of at the time of death, that body you will attain. So this was in the verse 8.6, and now then Krishna is elaborating everything. So the point being here is that for all of us, death is the final exam. Death is the time that will tell us what scores we are going to get, and what is the scores is going to be according to what we have practiced in our life. Like as students, we all know that we have to study the entire year. You can't just on the final exam day say, okay, right, I'm going to now get it all done, read the entire syllabus and get the best grades. That's not going to happen. You have to practice it throughout your year, academic year. Same way, in your life, if you've not practiced something, then at the time of death you think that, okay, it's fine, right now I will do everything, I will enjoy myself. At the time of death, I will just chant the Lord's name and I will be liberated. That won't happen. And that's what Krishna is trying to say here, that it is at the time of death, whatever you think of, that is the kind of body that you will get. Now, in our scriptures, we've got loads of examples, and I'll tell you one story about one king called Bharat Maharaj. He was a very, very religious, spiritual king. He was able to renounce his kingdom, renounce all the riches, because he realized that this life is not just about accumulating wealth or ruling over a kingdom. There is more to life. And so he renounced everything, went to the forest and tried to realize God, realize his self, realize what his relation with God is. But while he was in the forest and performing various austerities, he came across a deer, a baby deer who lost his mother. And he felt responsible towards this deer. And so he started looking after the deer. And eventually he got really, really attached to the deer. So much so that his other activities, like performing pujas or chanting or taking the Lord's name, took a back seat. because he was constantly focused on how he should be looking after the deer. And then eventually, when he was losing his body, when he was actually dying, his thoughts were constantly focused on this deer. And so in his next life, he got the body of a deer. And that is what happens with all of us, because what we have to realize is that we are not this body, we are the soul. Does everybody agree with that concept? That I'm not this body, I am this soul. Because think about it, that what has remained permanent with you from the time you were born to the stage that you're at now, whether you're a teenager, a middle-aged person, or an old person, your body has constantly changed. You were an infant, you were a little child, you became a teenager, you're growing. So your body has changed, but there has been one constant. That constant is actually the soul. When we say, this is my finger, we don't say I finger, my. Who is this my then? We need to understand who is my. That my is actually the soul. And it says that there are 8,400,000 species of living entities. And out of all this, to get a human body is very, very, very rare. Why is it rare? Because it is the human body in which we are given the intelligence to understand, to realize that actually I am this soul, and I am eternal, and I have a relation with God. It is this human body wherein you're given the intelligence to then try and get to that stage where you think, all right, if I'm the soul and I'm eternal, why am I put in this situation where I am not happy, I am distressed? And correct me if I'm wrong, but all of us, we are never eternally happy as long as we are in this material world. We may think that tomorrow I will get this, I will achieve this, I will get good grades, I'll get a good job, I'll have a house and whatever, and I will be happy. But do we ever get this eternal happiness? Once we've achieved something, we've set a benchmark, right? I'm going to get this and I'm going to be happy. When we get that, we realize, actually, I want something else. I'm not really happy. There's something missing in my life. It could be anything, but there's something missing. So I want something else. And your goalpost for happiness keeps changing. For today, I've set my goalpost here. I'm going to get a job, a house, a car. That's it, I'm happy. Once you reach there, then you think, right, I have to shift the goalpost now because I want something else. I want a good wife. I want children. I want this and that. I want to be able to see various places in the world, roam around, achieve a certain status in society, reach somewhere in my job, then I'll be happy. Once you've achieved that, maybe you've got children who are growing up, who are teenagers, then the goalpost shifts. I'll be happy when my children are settled, when they've done well in their careers, when they've met their life partners, married well. So it keeps changing. There is no eternal happiness in this world. The reason being, this world is temporary. How can we find something permanent in a temporary world? We're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking in the wrong place, we are not going to find what we're looking for, right? So that's one thing that your mind, your subtle body then carries. Like for Bharat Maharaj, because he was so attached to the deer, his mind and intelligence carried those feelings to his next life, and he came back as a deer. Same way for us. Whatever we are carrying, whatever thoughts we have at the time of our death, if there are some unfulfilled desires, if there's something that I want desperately, and your mind is constantly focused on that, rather than thinking on about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that is what you will get. But to be able to come to a stage where you can control your mind and just think about Krishna is not easy. It's not easy. It needs practice. Like any of the yoga stages, a lot of people today are practicing yoga. They're practicing yoga not to have any kind of spiritual realization, but to have a good body, to maintain a healthy body, which is not bad. But the real point of practicing yoga is to come to a spiritual realization, to realize that I am a spiritual being. So as a spiritual being, what is my final goal? Death is not my final goal, because there is life after death. So if there is life after death, am I practicing? Am I understanding where I'm going? You know, we look after our physical bodies. We look after ourselves in that sense. We are decorating ourselves and we are maintaining ourselves because we're thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow and day after and 5 years down the line. It's very unfortunate that nowhere we are taught that you also have to think of what is going to happen after death. Where are you going to be after death? We are constantly only thinking about enjoying ourselves. Now, there is nothing wrong in looking after yourself. Absolutely nothing wrong, because this body has been given to us by the Lord. So it is the temple of the Lord. So you have to look after yourself. But that is not the only thing that you should be doing, because the soul is there within you and you have to look after the soul also. More so because you know that this soul is going to travel. This is not the final destination of me, the soul. This may be the final destination for my human body, but it is not for my soul. So knowing that I will be, moving on, I need to prepare myself. Where am I going to go afterwards? And in the Gita it says that every living entity, right from the worm to in fact the demigods, and who we call the demigods, it is not like we're calling these people demigods because we have no respect. Of course we have respect, but to understand that there is one God, and that is Krishna. And all the others are there just to do what he wants them to do. Krishna is the supreme authority, and everybody else is just following the orders of Krishna. So we've got gods like, we've got Brahma, we've got, Shiva, we've got all of them. They all have got roles to play. Like Brahma is the creator. He creates. But he's given the permission and the authority by Krishna. He cannot do anything by himself. When he came first, he didn't know what to do. He prayed to Krishna. He prayed. He didn't actually pray to Krishna, but because he didn't know. He was praying. What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? And then he was given the enlightenment by Krishna from within his heart, because Krishna is within each and every one of us. Krishna says that, yes, you're the soul, but bear in mind that in each and every living entity, there is the super soul also. The super soul is Krishna. Krishna is with each one of us, not just human beings. He is with the worm, he is with the elephant, he is with the ant, he is with every one of us. And he knows our desires. All that he's asking for is, turn to me, turn towards me, realize that I am with you. Tell me what you want. Tell me what, and I will guide you what you should actually get. It's interesting that Krishna will give us what is right for us. Krishna will not give us what we want. Because sometimes what we want is probably not the right thing. This is almost like, when a child will ask a parent for something that's dangerous, the parent obviously will not give it, knowing that this is not right for the child. So Krishna is our eternal Father. Why will he give us something that is not right for us? So he will give us what we deserve in order to move forward in our spiritual journey. So, so people actually, what happens is that all of us, we don't really understand that this human life is temporary, but although it is temporary, we're very fortunate to get it, because it is only in this form of life that we can understand Krishna. We're constantly thinking of how we can be happy. But like we said, we can never be happy permanently, because this place is not permanent. And that is why Krishna is coming to us in various forms and talking to us. Now, sometimes we may think that Arjuna was very fortunate. He was on the battlefield with Krishna. Krishna was able to speak to him. But Krishna is speaking to us also through the books. When we come to the temple, we're meeting devotees. We have darshan of the deities. It is said that, because we are not at the stage where we can see Krishna everywhere, so Krishna comes in the form of these deities, where you can actually talk to him, relate to him, and speak your heart to him. You may think that, how will he speak to us? But you will not realize, but Krishna speaks to you through many different forms. He may speak to you through your friends, your family, other devotees, through the scriptures that we have, through the Bhagavad-Gita. So many times it happens that you have a question in your mind, and either you're talking to somebody or you're reading something and you think, oh my God, this is exactly my question and it is being answered. At that time you may not realize, but that is actually Krishna speaking through these forms. So anyways, the point in this verse is that at the time of death, we are going through so many difficulties physically, mentally, that it's very difficult to think of Krishna at that time. And that is why you have to practice this every single moment of your life. Only then you can think of Krishna. And in our scriptures, there is one very interesting character. He's King Kulashekar. And what he prays to the Lord, he says, I pray that the swan of my mind may immediately sink down to the stems of the lotus feet of your Lordship and be locked. Because at the time of my final breath, when my throat is all choked up with cough, how will I think of you at that time? I don't know how many of you can relate, but I can really relate to it today, because just before giving the class, I got some slightly distressing news. And my mind was just all over the place. And because I was preparing for this verse, and I was thinking how true that just this little bit, it's not even like a very, very difficult, slightly difficult news. And my mind is all over. So think about it, at the time of death, will I be able to think of Krishna? So difficult. So difficult. Unless, of course, we constantly, practice it and, try and fix our mind and, always, take the Lord's name. It's very difficult to fix our minds on Krishna. However, again, we've been given the easy way out, and Srila Prabhupada says that it is possible to fix your mind. And how is that possible? It's by performing devotional service, by becoming Krishna conscious, by practicing bhakti yoga. In this verse, Krishna is talking about how one can fix one's life airs, and so he's talking about the Ashtanga yoga system. Now, Ashtanga yoga is something which is very difficult to perform, because first of all, you have to come to a stage where your mind is able to look at everything with equal vision. Ashtanga yoga is described in the 6th chapter and also a little bit in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, where somebody, a great devotee like Arjuna, says to Krishna, Krishna, controlling the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. You see? So Arjuna is saying that is so difficult. So people like, at least me, I don't think I can come to the stage where I can perform Ashtanga yoga, where I will be able to meditate and think and bring my life airs in such a way that I can think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we have been given this very, very easy format. That is performing devotional service. Now, the start of devotional service and the start of Krishna consciousness is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I'm sure all of you must have heard it. And it is said that in this Kali Yuga, there is no other way, there is no other sacrifice, there is no other austerity that you can perform except for chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And very clearly in our Shastras it says that for this Kali Yuga, Kalo nashti, kalo nashti, kalo nashti evam gathir anyata, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the only way. And it says that Kirtanat eva Krishnaya mukta sangha param vrajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one becomes free from bondage and thus becomes eligible to go back to where Krishna is. Why do we want to go back to where Krishna is? Because we are eternal souls. So we want to go back to a place which is eternal. That place is where Krishna resides. Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna is asking us, come back to me. And how we can go back is by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Should we all just chant once? Yeah? So the Maha Mantra goes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Isn't that simple? There is no qualification needed, there is no eligibility needed, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. Wherever you are, just start chanting. That's it. The easiest way. So here we are talking about, fixing your mind and fixing your life here and all of this. And Acharyas have given us such a simple way. Prabhupada has told us, just chant the Lord's name. That's the first step, obviously. But once you start chanting, you yourself will realize things, you yourself will want to know more things. The windows of the spiritual world will start opening, and slowly the doors of the spiritual world will start opening. And you will want to not walk through the doors, you want to just run through those doors, because you will realize what you are missing, what you cannot get ever in this material world. You are struggling and fighting and running after this happiness which is elusive. It is never ever going to come to you. Ever. Trust me on that. And trust everybody who's gone through this path. It is not going to come. I'm sure you all must have experienced it. Some people may think, spirituality and religion is for people who are old. Let me first enjoy myself right now. When I become old, I will do all of these things. But imagine this, that if you have made this a habit to yourself, that you're running after sense enjoyment, do you think one fine day, just by the click of a finger, you're going to say, right, I am 55, 60 now, stop this, let me start spirituality? It doesn't function like that. It doesn't work like that. Because man is controlled by his habits. Unless you break out of the habit of enjoying yourself, you will not be able to switch off one day. And like we say, it's not that you give up this for that. It's a balance. Get this balance. Don't just stick here, forget this completely. It's a balance. Try and maintain this balance. Prabhupada in some of his classes used to give this example that we are so caught up in enjoying because we get so used to it. And he was saying that, I think he was in Paris, and he said, look at all these old men in their 70s. They still want to go to the clubs. They still want to enjoy with young girls. What can they enjoy? But because you're so used to it, because you've given your mind and body that, you have not thought of anything else. So everybody's thinking, let's enjoy now and Krishna later. But like I said, you will not get either of that. You won't be able to enjoy and you won't get Krishna because you've not practiced it. So you're the loser in both the cases. So why not, try and get both. You will see that a person who is Krishna conscious does not ever stop enjoying. They're always enjoying. They're always happy. So we are actually getting the best of both worlds. And this idea that, one should only become spiritual when one is old is such, it's just such a wrong idea. And in our scriptures, in fact, in the Bhagavatam it says, Kaumara acharet prajna means the human life is very rarely achieved. So Kaumar means young age. Right from a young age, one should be practicing how to develop love of Krishna. How to bring Krishna in the center of your life. A Krishna conscious person does not stop having ambitions of having a great career or doing the best in whatever field that he chooses to do. We have got very, very learned people in our Krishna conscious movement, people who have passed out from prestigious universities like Oxford and Cambridge in India, from IITs. So it's not that you stop doing these things, but understand that how these things can be used in serving Krishna. You know, everything can be used for serving Krishna. Your career, your wealth, your talent. If you're talented, if you like singing, come and sing for Krishna. Like how Prabhuji was singing. He was singing so beautifully. So you're talented, sing for Krishna. If you like to dance, dance for Krishna. If you are a successful businessman, maybe you can give some money for Krishna. So you can use everything for Krishna. You don't have to leave anything. Be where you are, bring Krishna in. You're getting the best of both worlds. You enjoy and you're Krishna conscious. Isn't that a better deal? Right? See, I'm very good. I'm a good salesman. Buy one, get one free. Isn't it? So yeah, so if we don't practice this throughout our life, then at the time of death, there is no way that we will be able to fix our mind on Krishna. And that is what is being said in this verse, in this chapter actually. What happens is that we've got three kinds of people. So there's one group of people who are only focused on sense gratification. They are not thinking of what will happen at death and what happens after death. So they are not focused on the destination, but they are focusing on the journey. As long as my journey is happy, as long as I am enjoying myself, I don't care what happens at death. Then we have another group of people who are these yogis and jnanis who are performing various austerities because they know that death is not the final destination. So they're focusing on the destination. In the process, they are performing such austerities that the journey is extremely difficult for them, sometimes just impossible. Right? A Krishna conscious person takes both. He focuses on the journey and on the destination. So he has a lovely journey, he's aware of the destination, and he focuses on that also. That is what Krishna consciousness is about, to get both the journey and the destination. So I think I will stop here because it's almost 8:30. If there are any questions or comments or any realizations that you would like to share, it would be nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice. That's nice. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Correct. Yes. 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 Oh yes. Because you know what will happen when you become Krishna conscious and when you're going out for walks or taking pictures. Like this is what my daughter says to me. She says, when you see the sunset, can't you see Krishna in that? And that is what will happen. When you become conscious of Krishna, whatever you see, you will want to see Krishna, because even in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, I am the taste of water. So for somebody who's starting out, that's such an easy way of thinking of Krishna constantly. How many times in a day are you having water? And every time you sip water and you think, oh my God, Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. So this is, Krishna. So you think of Krishna. So honestly, Krishna conscious is not difficult at all. And if, we don't advocate where we're talking about like yogis who leave everything and go to the mountains and perform austerities. No, because that is not what is advised for this yuga. Yes, in certain ages previously, people could do that because they could control their mind. In today's day and age, in Kali Yuga, we cannot do that. And that is why what we are being told to do is just chant. Chanting can be done anywhere. It can be done at any time, with anybody. So there's so much flexibility, and that is why you can bring Krishna consciousness into your life right from this moment. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to think about it. I'll probably be ready in a couple of days or weeks or months. No, Krishna consciousness comes to you just now. It can start right now. That's it. So simple. Right? Any other questions, or you're satisfied, all of you? Good. Thank you so much. I hope you all come again. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.